morning, everyone. Bonsoir, good evening, everyone. And welcome Michelle as our speaker and some guests. So we take a moment to reflect on peace. And tonight I thought, as we know, peace is possible and peace starts within. So for this evening, we're just taking one moment to reflect on inner peace, because when we can have peace inwardly, that's when we can have peace outwardly. So we're just going to close our eyes if you feel comfortable, or just look someplace where you can be within yourself. And let's start by taking a deep breath, bringing ourselves into this moment, in the present moment. And if you even feel comfortable, to put a hand on your heart so that you can feel your chest rising and dropping. So let's try to slow our breath. And while we're doing that, with your eyes closed, let's focus on the energy of peace. And we're going to create a wave of peace to each one of us here and the ones who will listen to the recording. And sending this wave of peace to our loved ones, families, and friends. And reaching out into our communities, in our provinces, throughout Canada, from ocean to ocean to ocean. And just visualize that this wave of peace is encircling the globe, as we are one heart, one family, one community. And Jimi Hendrix quoted, "When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace." And feel free to open your eyes. Thank you, Kathy, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Anne Marie. And I love that quote. If you could send that to us, that would be great. I'm sure we can make up a post on that.
Exactly.
Now, Mary Ellen is going to give us our Rotary Foundation moment.
Our Rotary Foundation moment will start with the question: what makes a global grant application successful? So when we're going forward with our global grant applications, we are to consult with local experts early in the planning process to build a strong project plan and a global grant application. Your application needs to clearly describe how your project, scholarship, or vocational training team responds to the real community needs, aligns with one of the Rotary's areas of focus, actively involves Rotary members and community members, meets the eligibility requirements in the grant terms and conditions, includes measurable goals, and will be sustainable and successful long after the global grant funds have been spent. If you need help, contact your district international service chair. The district resource network is made up of members with expertise in project planning, areas of focus, and Rotary Foundation grants. Our grant system empowers members to design projects with lasting benefits to communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. And I welcome Indu. Is that right?
Yes.
Would you like to say hello to us all and tell us where you're coming from?
Hi, my name is Indu. And amongst the people here, I know Michelle and I know Anne Marie. Thank you so much for having me here.
And where are you from, the Moncton area?
I'm from the Dieppe.
From Dieppe. Mm-hmm. Good. And Amber has also joined us. Hello, Amber.
Hi, I'm going to be driving shortly, so I'll just listen for now.
Okay. That is great. So I'm going to ask you to put yourself in speaker mode up on a computer. You're up on the upper right-hand corner. It says view, and it says gallery, or it can say speaker. So if you're in the gallery mode now, put yourself in the speaker mode. Michelle might want to stay in the gallery mode so she can see everybody as she speaks. Michelle Tupy is passionate about community and thrives on collaborating with like-minded people to affect change. Originally from Australia, she believes that volunteering plays an important role in supporting local organizations. She is a board member for Moncton Cares, YWCA Moncton, and Urban Rural Rides, as well as a member of the Sunrise Rotary Club in Moncton. Since settling in New Brunswick in 2017, Michelle dedicated 4 years working for Hospice Southeast New Brunswick, where she focused on social enterprise, the boutique hospice shop, as well as other fundraising initiatives. Michelle is currently the chapter director for Shelter Movers New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, an organization that provides free moving and storage services to help survivors of abuse free from violence. Michelle.
Thank you. I'll see if I can share. Share? No. Share. Can you see that?
Yes.
Wow, look at that. I love that.
It's always magic when it works, isn't it?
I know. Yeah. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about shelter movers and also gender-based violence and allyship, working together to address gender-based violence in our community. Certainly, if anyone has any questions along the way, I'm happy to answer them, being that we are a small group. It's very informal presentation. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask or save your questions till the end. I'm okay with that as well. So just a content warning in case there's anything which might act as a trigger. This presentation covers concepts and scenarios, which includes themes of violence, oppression, and trauma. So I will talk about a few things today. Firstly, to develop a better understanding of gender-based violence in Canada, to understand what allyship is and how to be an ally, our calls to action, how to make meaningful change in our communities, and also to learn about shelter movers, which is a crucial piece of the puzzle. So I'll start with what is gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is violence directed against a person because of their gender, gender expression, gender identity, or perceived gender. We know that gender-based violence disproportionately affects persons of a particular gender. So we know that women in particular, but young women, Black racialized women, Indigenous women, newcomer women, women with disabilities, elderly women, and women living in rural communities. It can affect all of those. Transgender people, gender diverse people, and 2S LGBTQIA plus people as well. So we know that disproportionately affects those. Survivors may experience one or more different forms of abuse. When we talk about abuse, often our mind automatically goes to physical abuse, but that is not necessarily the case. And certainly when we talk about some of the people that we support at Shelter Movers, it isn't always physical, or it could be physical and or emotional or financial or something else. So we talk about emotional or psychological abuse, particularly in the modern age. There's digital and technological abuse. So that could mean threatening to share photos or images of someone without their permission. It could be someone has control of the purse strings, not willing to give them any money. So we're talking economic and financial abuse, spiritual or religious abuse, stalking and harassment, and human trafficking as well, which is obviously one of the most severe that we see through shelter movers. Intimate partner violence, and you might see it written down as IPV, is a prevalent form of gender-based violence. And when we talk about abuse or domestic violence, there's often multiple terms which are thrown around, and they can be used interchangeably. So IPV refers to multiple forms of harm caused by a current or former intimate partner or spouse. So intimate partner violence doesn't have to be a current partner. It could be an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend. We have been seeing a lot of cases, particularly coming through Nova Scotia, about intimate partner violence, and then leading to murder, suicide, or femicide. We're seeing lots of cases there. We do see it in New Brunswick as well. Police reported data demonstrates women are overrepresented in those who experience intimate partner violence, even though incidents are underreported by women as a whole. So what this means is that it's more prevalent than we know, because a lot of people, they do not report cases of domestic violence or intimate partner violence to the police. And again, some of the other terms that you might hear: domestic violence, domestic abuse, spousal abuse. So there's a lot of terms that we use to describe intimate partner violence or gender-based violence. When we talk about the problem in Canada, the statistics are very, very high. We're looking at almost 130,000 here cases of gender-based violence reported in 2022. 44% of women in Canada have experienced some form of violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. That's very, very high and very, very shocking. 60,000 plus individuals, annual admissions to shelters for survivors of abuse. When we talk about the people that shelter movers serve, so we know that not everyone goes to a shelter. Sometimes individuals will just go to friends' houses, sleep on their couches, things like that. They don't necessarily go to shelters for support. So even the statistics that the shelters have, it doesn't cover everyone who is experiencing abuse or intimate partner violence. The majority of our clients that we see are women and children, although we do help men as well. Gender-based violence does affect men, but certainly more prevalent when we're talking about women. So it's a community problem. We all need to be part of the solution. It's not just the shelters, it's not just shelter movers, it's not just community organizations, it's not just the government. It's everyone needs to work together. Most people, when I'm out and about in the community or in markets, they tell me that either one, they've experienced violence themselves, or two, they know someone who has experienced violence. And I think the same could be said for everyone. It probably wouldn't take us long to sort of think back to when we knew someone who might have been going through that problem in a particular period of someone's life. Without the support of volunteers from across the gender spectrum, we wouldn't be able to help survivors and their families move to safety. So when we talk about the volunteers at shelter movers, it's not just women, it's men as well. We need men to be part of the solution and to be an ally in the situation. Is there any questions before I move on?
If we could just keep the questions to the end, it's better for our recording.
Yeah,
We hear the
absolutely.
recording.
Absolutely. So I'll move on to allyship. So allyship is an ongoing practice of learning and using your privilege to stand up for marginalized groups. Allyship is a lifelong commitment to centering the voices and experiences of those groups while unlearning the unconscious biases that we all may hold. It is more than a label. True allies provide support by taking action. And certainly when we're talking about allyship or being an ally, it can come in many, many, many different forms. So it's educating ourselves on particular issues and understanding, in this case, what is gender-based violence, what is intimate partner violence, what does that look like? So it's active listening, believing, and affirming survivors. Calling out biases and discrimination that we may see quite often when something happens and puts us in an uncomfortable situation. We tend sometimes maybe to keep quiet because we don't want to ruffle someone's feathers. But really, in order to make change, we have to call out these issues, call out their biases and discrimination and say that that is not okay. De-escalation and intervention, if safe to do so in a particular situation. Educating peers about consent, modeling and celebrating healthy masculinity. Certainly the way we talk about young girls and young boys, certainly different. If we see a young boy roughhousing in the playground, it's like, oh, that's a boy thing. And it just sort of gets pushed under the carpet, and then it becomes the norm that little boys can grow into men who are a little rough. Familiarizing ourselves with the community resources that are out there. So not just shelter movers, but other organizations that can help an individual that's going through gender-based violence. So our mission at Shelter Movers. Shelter Movers is a national volunteer-powered organisation that provides free moving and storage services to individuals and families fleeing from abuse. We are the only service of this kind in Canada. There are certainly other organisations such as shelters which do move individuals, but we are the only one that does offer the free moving and storage services as the main service that we offer. So across the country, we have 11 chapters. So we move close to 150 families per month. This week, I believe, we're celebrating our 9th birthday, which is quite exciting. And beyond the moving and storage, we also help with security personnel, police escorts, language interpreters, and pet fostering. And all of this is free to the clients. We don't charge for any of our services. So currently we're just opening our 11th chapter in Regina in Saskatchewan. So our clients come from all walks of life, but predominantly, as I mentioned, our clients are women, usually between the ages of 18 to 55, and the majority have at least one child under 8. The most dangerous time for a woman experiencing abuse is when they announce that they are pregnant, or they say that they are going to leave the relationship. So that's when the abuse can be heightened, which then can lead to femicide or murder-suicide. Shelter Movers aims to remove the barriers to allow survivors to flee abuse. So that could come, or that could look like, I guess, the financial. It's very expensive, as we know, to move. So if you could be in a situation where someone has control of all the funds, you might not be able to find the money to get the storage, find a truck, even get people to help you move. So it is a very expensive thing. We talk about the emotional sort of feelings around it. When someone announces that they're going to leave, there could be threats against the children. So often individuals stay in a relationship for the safety of the children or even the safety of their pets. There's a lot of guilt there too. Obviously, individuals want to keep a stable relationship, have that sense of family and normalcy around it. So there's the emotional abuse there. Don't leave, it may affect the children. What will that look like? And then, of course, survivors are at risk of losing their community. If we're talking tight-knit communities or certain religions, then individuals really might find it difficult to leave or to take steps to move away from the relationship. And then the security. As I mentioned before, when someone announces that their intent to leave, then they are at risk of femicide. So when it comes to shelter movers, as I said, we are run by volunteers. It's volunteers doing the majority of the work, and that includes all stages of the moves. So we have a referral process. So we work with shelters and community organisations who act as referral partners to shelter movers. So in Moncton, that would be Crossroads, YWCA, could be Harvest House. When we're moving into Fredericton, it could look like Liberty Lane, Gigner House. So we work with agencies. Oh, I heard a beep there. Often emergency women's shelters, that's where we get the most of the referrals from. So our moves would come through to the intake coordinators who would connect to the referral agencies to assess the logistical and safety concerns. We would have an intake form that is filled out by the agencies on behalf of a client to assess the risk. We want to make sure that the survivor is safe and that our volunteers who are on the moves are also safe. So we ask questions such as, is the abuser going to be there? Is there alcohol? Is there weapons? Is there drugs? So then we understand the situation. If we know the abuser is going to be there, then quite often we are going into a home with the RCMP or police. If there is a low to medium risk that the abuser will be there, then often we use security companies. If it is an address that the abuser is not familiar with or does not know that they're moving, then that is what we would deem low risk, and then we would do moves from there without any support. So once we get the move through our intake coordinator, then it moves onto our move coordinator, who again is a volunteer, and they would prepare a very detailed move itinerary, assemble our movers and drivers. So we would put a call out to our volunteers and say that we've got a move happening in Fredericton or in Moncton on Saturday. We would need a car driver and a truck driver and 3 movers to get this move done. And so then our volunteers who are available on that particular day would sign up for the move. We would give them sort of a rough time frame. We would say it's between 10 and 2, and it's all happening within Moncton. So they get the basic details and then they sign up for the move. Once we have all the volunteers signed up for the move, then they would get that detailed itinerary 24 hours before the move is to take place. On every move, we would have a lead mover, and then they would serve as the client's main contact then. And again, the lead mover is a volunteer, or it could be staff as well if we're unable to get a volunteer to fulfill that role. So that lead mover would liaise with the client on the day and sort of be the go-between between the security or the police. And they would report back to the move coordinator as the move is happening. So then all the staff can see the move that's happening in real time. So if any issues occur on a move, then we can all jump in and assist when necessary. As I said, we assess the moves when they come in. Urgent exit moves is something that we don't really do so much in New Brunswick. And that is when we would be going into a home, getting a survivor and their children out of a situation immediately and taking them to a shelter. What we do is find that people can usually find their way to a shelter, and then that is the time that they reach out to us. But I know that in other parts of Canada that they do more urgent exit moves than, say, we would do here. Escorted moves are quite common. So that's when maybe they're in a shelter or they're staying with friends or they're in some kind of safe temporary housing, maybe is not permanent. Then we're going back to their former home with volunteers and security or police because we know the abuser is going to be there to retrieve their belongings. If at any time the abuser does not let us in or says that we are unable to take a couch or a TV, then we are not able to take it. So we need access. We don't just go in and burst down doors and take things like that. We need to ensure that at all times that everyone is safe. So if that's the case, then we explain to the volunteer that we're just not able to take that right now, and maybe they'll come to an agreement at another time, and then maybe we can go back and get those items. Then there's also the resettlement move, and that's kind of the sort of happy ending, as it were, if there was a happy ending in the situation, where they find safe housing and we're moving their children, their pets, everyone's being reunited with their toys and their belongings that have been in the shelter for 6 months, and then we're taking everything to their new home. So they're obviously our most favorite ones, and the clients can get emotional on those ones because obviously it's been a long time coming. They might have been in a shelter. We know with lack of affordable housing right now that people are unable to find places. So we are storing things for longer and longer periods of time in our units, often more than 6 to 12 months. We say that we offer short-term storage, but we really check in with people every few months to ask them, have they found housing? Some of them may be on the streets, so we understand that. Some of them are in the shelters, or some of them are still staying with friends and they're just trying to work their way through the system. So it can take a long time. So we are volunteer powered across the country. We have over 1,000 volunteers. In New Brunswick, we would have over 50 amazing volunteers who would drive the cars, drive the trucks, be on our intake team, be move coordinators. And really, we couldn't do the work without them. But we do have a thorough recruitment process for our volunteers because it's not a role for everybody, particularly because of the situations that volunteers might find themselves in. If someone has been through abuse themselves, sometimes that they find that if they go on a move, it could be more triggering for them than they thought it would be. So we often get survivors who say, thank you for your help. I would really like to help shelter movers and do this kind of work as a volunteer. So we certainly say to individuals like that, we would like you to wait 12 months maybe, and then come back and see how you feel, just because of the scenarios that they could find themselves in. But our recruitment process does include a screening interview, a police record check, and then it would involve a 2-hour trauma-informed orientation where we talk about gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, about what Shelter Movers does, and what does going on a move look like, and things that may happen on a move, just so when they go on their first move, they have a little bit of an understanding. But while our processes for the moves are the same, all moves are different, depending on where the client is on their journey. We also offer mental health counselling, just in case our individuals or volunteers find out that they need that following a move. And then depending on the role that volunteers do, we also have supervisory roles for volunteers. Then there is ongoing education and workshops as well, over and above the standard 2-hour orientation that we offer at the start. So there's lots of opportunities for individuals to get involved, particularly for newcomers and things as well, to Canada. I always say to them, it's great experience for newcomers to get involved in a volunteer organisation, get some experience, see how organisations work. Often volunteer organisations can provide references as well for the great work that they're doing in the community. We wouldn't be able to do any of it really without the support from the community and our business partners as well. Shelter Movers does get storage, free storage from many of our partners. Apple Storage is a big storage partner of ours, and as we are moving into Fredericton, they have today shared that they're going to offer us a free storage unit in Fredericton when we begin to do moves there in June. So we're very excited about that. We have a storage unit there already. Avis Budget are a huge partner of ours. They offer free cars for us to use on all our moves. So we don't take our own cars on a move, particularly if the abuse is there. We don't want anyone to know who our volunteers are or to follow them home or to get their license plates or anything like that. So we would usually meet at an Avis or a Penske or an Enterprise, depending on where we're picking up our vehicles from. We would meet there as a group. If there is police or security involved, we would go to a pre-move location. We would meet the client there, and then we would all go to the family home together as a group. Security or police would do a walkthrough first, so to make sure that it's safe for the volunteers. So we're very fortunate with our storage and vehicle partners. In terms of security, we've got Regal Security, who provides us with free security as well in and around the Moncton area. And here are just some of the other partners that we work with in Moncton. So that would be Crossroads, YWCA, Courage House, Harvest House, the Violence Prevention Centre, and Sussex Vale Transition House. But we do get referrals from other agencies as well, Victim Services, RCMP, sometimes the hospitals. But we like to use these agencies because they're trained in the way we work. So we don't take personal referrals. So if someone was to reach out to us, we would maybe say connect them to the Courage Centre or YWCA. So the individual will be able to be given all the information first to find out whether they're a fit for us. We just want to make sure, because we're not sure, I guess our volunteers aren't necessarily trained to be a social worker. So if they go through the Courage Centre or YWCA, there are people trained to be able to support them through the trauma that they're going through. And we are a tool for the agencies to use for that moving and storage piece. So as we move into Fredericton in June, we're already have a couple of new partners to work with, which would be Liberty Lane and Gig New House. And then we have our partners certainly in terms of the vehicles and with storage. So currently the only thing missing from the equation is volunteers. So we're currently working our way to recruit volunteers in Fredericton, and we hope to be doing moves in Fredericton as early as June this year. Our clients are really very grateful for the work that we do. It can be quite emotional, and quite often there's hugs and tears because, as I said, they could be in a shelter for a long period of time. Their items may have been in our storage units for a year or more. So by the time that they are reunited with their things, just even looking over their family photos and things like that, it can create a lot of emotion. And really, that's it For me, we are a small but mighty team here in Moncton. There is myself as the chapter director, and then we have an operations manager, and then a volunteer services manager. So the three of us then make sure that the moves will get done. And then we will be doing the expansion in Fredericton with other areas to follow.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. Now, if you'll put that down, Michelle, and if you put the presentation down, we'll go back to the stage of being in a gallery mode, and we can see everybody.
Thank you. Just got to work out how I do that. Okay, stop share. I see.
Okay. Now, if everyone would like to go into gallery view. And we have a few minutes for questions. Is there anyone who has questions they'd like to ask?
Do we stop the recording at this time, Kathy, or not?
Yes, we can. Just a moment.
I just have a comment to make.